Man, if I told y'all how long it took me to get this microphone and this MacBook together, y'all probably laugh at me. You also probably laugh at me if I told you how many times I've done this mock draft. I had an entire mock draft constructed, and I was ready to record it and get it edited and get it up. But here comes Chris Greer and John Lynch and Howie Roseman, and they want to shake up the draft and do all these things. But I'm actually kind of glad it kind of happened because I got to see Zach Wilson's pro day. And things like that, and really got to solidify why I feel like he's the top quarterback. So we're gonna jump right into it. It's me, Jace. You guys are back on my channel, and we're gonna do this 2.0 mock draft here. Free agency is I don't want to say it's over, but speaking of free agency, I had a T.Y. Hilton video that was gonna go up about why he should stay with the Colts, and he ended up staying with the Colts, so there's no reason for the video. But that was another thing that I was doing. I was working on free agency videos, but everything was happening so fast. It's really hard to get a video done and edit it, right? But we're gonna jump into this mock draft here. Of course, we're using the Draft Network, which I still believe is the best option. We're gonna run all 32 teams here. Of course, all 32 teams don't have picks, like the Rams, who don't have picks until like 2050. But we're gonna jump into it. Round one, Trevor Lawrence is gonna be the selection here. Of course, I mean, again, I don't have to say anything here. It's really pointless to give a synopsis on this guy when he's the clear-cut number one. So we'll get to pick number 2 here, and the New York Jets are on the clock, and we're going to go ahead and select Zach Wilson. Now, as I said before, Zach Wilson was competing for his job going into the season last year. He had a shoulder injury on his torn labrum in 2018, had hand injuries in 2019. I don't do shoulder injuries on quarterbacks. He's athletic. He shows up in the clutch. We saw that a few times in 2019 against USC and Tennessee. While Wilson, in my opinion, is the clear-cut guy, that was really solidified going into his pro day and even coming out of his pro day on March 26th, because when he rolled to the left and threw a sidearm pass, backpedaling off his back foot across the field, across his body, I mean, it was like Daniel Jeremiah on the NFL Network was talking, and he stopped mid-sentence and was like, look at this throw right here. Perfect throw. And then you got Reggie Bush hating on Twitter. What is this supposed to mean? Well, I think it's funny that Reggie Bush is talking about a prospect who's promising, potentially not delivering. I just think that's hilarious, Mr. I rushed for 5,000 yards in my career. But anyway, I don't like when people crap on quarterbacks. That was a really good throw. The intermediate throws are great. He has zip on the ball, good footwork, pocket presence. It's all there. Robert Saleh gets his guy to be the face of his franchise instead of paying Sam Darnold a whole bunch of money. So pick 3, the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock here. Like I said, speaking of March 26th, that's when we found out the 49ers were trading picks 12, 92, and 2 first for pick 3. So they jumped 9 spots. And I mean, they're clearly not jumping for Gregory Rousseau or anything, or Rashawn Slater. They're taking a quarterback. Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network floated the idea that Mac Jones could be the quarterback here. And I can't, there's no way in my heart I can say that Mac Jones is going over Justin Fields and Trey Lance. I just can't. I'm sorry. My head might explode if that happens. I think they play it safe and they go Fields here. Garoppolo does have a no trade clause, but I mean, his contract's almost up. They save quite a bit of money if they trade him or cut him, whether it's post June 1 or pre June 1, it doesn't really matter. They don't have to be committed to Jimmy Garoppolo. Granted, they said that they're committed for this year, and that's great, but I mean, come on, get your quarterback. So I'm not taking Mac Jones here. I can't. I'm going to go ahead and just select Justin Fields, the very athletic kid out of Ohio State who can run. He can throw again. I still believe he's going to throw a lot of picks early on in his career just because he locks onto guys. But outside of that, I think he's an elite prospect. So right here, pick 4. Now, everybody and their mother has the Atlanta Falcons taking a quarterback here, because Matt Ryan's old and things like that. Me personally, I don't really believe Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback, right? So I don't believe that they take a quarterback. I'm going to be a little bit different here. So what I did was, the Atlanta Falcons are picking at 4, But there's a team in Colorado that needs a quarterback, right? There's a team that has Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant and KJ Hamler. It's a lot of talent. They went 5-11, but their 5-11 looked a lot like Carolina's 5-11, where they have skilled players in the defense, but lackluster quarterback play is killing the team. Drew Lock lost to Las Vegas by 1 point, to the Chargers by 3, Kansas City by 6, the Steelers by 5, the Titans by 2. Win those games, and that gets you 10 wins, and you're possibly in the playoffs. Get a quarterback that you can have some success with. There's a quarterback sitting on the board here that played at North Dakota State, and you're in Colorado air, and you want to talk about someone throwing a football in Colorado air. That is the guy that you want. So the Denver Broncos here are going to move from pick 9 up to pick 4. So they're going to trade up with the Atlanta Falcons. The Denver Broncos are going to give up pick 9, pick 40, and then in 2022, they're going to give up a third for pick 4. So Atlanta will get pick 9, pick 40, so 2 picks this year and then a third next year, which balances out pretty evenly on the trade chart. So we'll go ahead and send the offer over. The Falcons are evaluating the offer. They are going to accept the offer. And the Denver Broncos have jumped up from 9 to 4 to get their quarterback, Trey Lance. So yes, I have 4 quarterbacks going in the in the top 4 here. If Cincinnati wants to be safe or wants to be a little dangerous, they could potentially move this pick with Carolina, and Carolina could jump up to 5, and get a Mac Jones if that's who they feel like they like the best. But I think it's a little dangerous because you may miss out on Penei Sewell, with the Dolphins here. So I think Cincinnati plays it safe here, and they go ahead and they take Penei Sewell. So there are some people in Bengals Twitter who are very adamant on getting, Joe Burrow weapons. But here's what I'll say. You can get 1,000 weapons, but if the quarterback can't get the ball to the weapons, it's all in vain. Joe Burrow's life becomes better the moment, Duke Tobin and the rest of the cluster buck in Cincinnati protect their asset. Period. Penei Sewell's the pick here, right? So now we get to pick 6. And the Carolina Panthers are getting a little antsy, right? Because they still need a quarterback, but there's a team down here, with New England who could possibly need a quarterback. Are the Raiders, that committed to Derek Carr? Are the Giants that committed to Dave Gettleman or to Dave Gettleman, or is Dave Gettleman that committed to Daniel Jones? So everybody will come out and say, oh, we love our guy. We love our quarterback. And I mean, the 49ers said it about Jimmy Garoppolo, the Eagles said it about Carson Wentz, so it doesn't matter. Words are, whatever, show me, right? So I think Carolina gets anxious here and they say, we can't wait around, right? Can't wait around. Someone may jump us and take our guy. So Carolina is going to make a phone call. Scott Fitterer is going to, call down to Miami, and he's going to trade for this pick here. So jump over to the NFC here. The Panthers, the Dolphins in the AFC. As I said before, the Panthers are a team that really struggle like Denver with just lackluster quarterback play. And I think Teddy's Teddy, but I think you need someone that's just a little bit better than Teddy. The quarterback on the board right now is Mac Jones. I know Mac Jones isn't like this elite passer, but Mac Jones is a winner. Mac Jones shows up in the clutch. And I think when Cincinnati turns that card in for Penei Sewell, Carolina needs to be calling, like I said, Chris Grier in Miami, and they need to jump up. So what are they going to give up? Okay, well, let's say they're going to go for 6. So they're going to swap first-round picks. Carolina is going to throw in a third, right? So Carolina's going to throw in 73. So you're going to have 8 and 73 for pick 6. So we're going to send this over to Miami. Miami is going to accept our offer. And Carolina is going to get their guy. They're going to get Mac Jones. Matt Rule talks so much about Mac Jones and how great he is. And Sometimes when coaches do that, it means the exact opposite. But I think that he may actually like this guy. He's a winner. He's a culture builder, and I think getting a guy who comes from a winning culture is a good thing for a guy like Matt Rhule. So pick number 7 here, we got the Detroit Lions. They lost Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay to free agency. They added Tyrell Williams. They might have one of the worst wide receiving cores in the league. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's not a good core. I think you need like a true number 1 receiver. I think a guy like Kyle Pitts is very, like attractive here. But I think they just kind of play it safe. They kind of get their guy, which would be the number 1 receiver on most people's boards, which is Ja'Marr Chase and his 20 touchdowns at LSU. Ja'Marr Chase goes to Detroit. Pick 8. The Miami Dolphins are on the clock here, so they move down from 6 to 8. And so they're going to get the guy that they wanted all along, right? And everyone is so eager to throw an Alabama wide receiver here. Oh, let's throw Waddle here. Let's throw, Devontae Smith here. Let's do that. Where I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Tua will thrive in 12 personnel, which is the 1 running back, 2 tight end personnel with Gesicki and my pick of Kyle Pitts. Tua, can thrive on that intermediate pass game. Kyle Pitts is a monster across the middle. And I think a guy like Tua needs that. Pitts catches everything. Run 12 personnel in Miami, and you're going to be okay. Every team doesn't run these 3 wide receiver sets. I'm telling you, the New England Patriots, signed, Jonnu Smith and other tight ends, to play 12 personnel. They didn't sign them to play 13 personnel or to play 11 personnel with 1 running back and 1 tight end. They didn't sign them for that. They signed them to play 12, which is, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. So I think Miami does that here with Kyle Pitts. Pick number 9. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock, and the Atlanta Falcons, they feel kind of good. They don't really want any receivers, but they have offensive linemen there. They have Micah Parsons. All the corners are there. They're feeling good. So there's a team in Los Angeles that drafted a quarterback last year who won Rookie of the Year. And I think that team has to protect their asset. It's the same thing I said about Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert was balling last year with a patchwork offensive line. Get him a bookend left tackle. I really feel bad for Herbert because Herbert won Rookie of the Year with Anthony Lynn as his coach, and then Anthony Lynn got fired. So I really want to see what Herbert looks like, under this, new coaching regime. Firing Anthony Lynn is another discussion for another day. But get you a left tackle to protect your franchise guy. So what we'll do is we're going to do a trade here. The Los Angeles Chargers are going to move up with the Atlanta Falcons, right? Atlanta Falcons are going to move down again because the Falcons guy is still on the board. We'll talk about him a little bit later. So the Chargers are going to offer up pick 13 and pick 77, to Atlanta for the pick. And I know some fans are going to be like, well, I think you could get a 2. You could possibly get a 2. I mean, if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to get a 2 here, or, if you were Atlanta, you wanted a 2, that could work. I don't think that's very realistic, according to the trade chart. So the 3 is more likely. But depends on how bad you want your guy. So, we'll send this offer over with the Los Angeles Chargers sending 13 and 77 for pick 9. Going to send this offer over to the Atlanta Falcons and their new general manager, their new coaching regime as well. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock. They're going to get their guy, Mr. Rashawn Slater. So pick 10. The Cowboys are sitting pretty. They have Parsons, 2 receivers. All the corners are there. Edge rushers, Barmore's there. Positions that the Cowboys actually need are there, and some of them are the best available players. So because of that, I have the Cowboys moving down, right? So the New England Patriots added a bunch of, skill positions to their team. They added a bunch of, Nelson Aguilars and Jonnu Smiths and did things like that to help their team because they run 12 personnel. But Julian Edelman is 34 years old, and he's a free agent after this season. I think it is imperative that New England, who's sitting at 15, jumps the New York Giants and the Atlanta Falcons, just because these are two wide receiver destinations. I understand that there is Darius Slayton and Kenny Golladay here, but come on, if you could add a weapon like Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith here, come on. I mean, if you can add, a weapon like Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith at 12 to Philadelphia, I mean, come on. Like you have to want to jump them. So the Patriots are going to go ahead and move up here. Patriots are going to move their pick with the Dallas Cowboys. The Patriots are going to they're going to move pick 15 and 46 for pick 1. And again, much like that the trade with the Chargers and the Falcons, it becomes very unrealistic, right? Like this trade is a little bit over on the trade chart. So what I ended up doing was I threw in an additional pick from Dallas, right? I threw in a 4th round pick. I just think I want to keep this as realistic as possible. I don't want to cheat the trade chart or treat the mock machine. So we're going to go ahead and move this pick here. And the Cowboys are going to deny the trade. Because they don't want to give up this 4. So let's say we just threw in a 5. Let's see if the Cowboys take a 5. So the Cowboys don't want to move. It's more realistic to do it like this on the trade chart, but the mock machine doesn't want to do it for me. So we'll just send this offer over to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are evaluating the offer. They're going to accept the offer. And the New England Patriots are on the clock. The Patriots are going to jump up here, and everybody's going to be, waiting for Devontae Smith, but they're going to take the smaller receiver, the more explosive guy. They love smaller receivers. They're going to go ahead and take Jalen Waddle here, pick 10. So the Heisman winner, Devontae Smith, is still on the board. So are the corners and Christian Darrisaw and all these guys. So the Giants are on the clock here at 11. They made some incredible moves in free agency. They look like a really good team on paper. I think Tate Crowder is a horrible linebacker, and they signed Reggie Ragland in free agency, and he was somewhat better than Crowder, I guess. But if a guy like Micah Parsons is sitting there, add him to the Patrick Graham defense and just go with it. I just don't know if I'm ready to invest high capital into a guy like Micah Parsons because of off-the-field issues, but I think he fits like a glove to the New York Giants here. I know edge rusher is kind of their big thing as far as fans go. But I want the fans to understand that Jalen Phillips, you can move up in the 2nd round for Joseph Osai, Tryon, Boogie Basham, Peyton Turner, Quincy Roche is a guy, Demikaji, Cam Sample, who I think Cam Sample's more of a really big defensive end. I think he could play inside at 3 technique as well. So it's a pretty deep edge rusher class when it gets to the 2nd and 3rd round of the draft. So I think that would be a pretty good spot for the Giants to kind of jump in at, or if they want to jump back at the end of the round, they can do that as well. But I have them. They're going to go ahead and select Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons. So pick 12, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock, and here is why I give Howie Roseman credit, right? Because Howie keeps trying to fix the receiver room. Howie keeps failing, but Howie's about to have an additional 1st round pick next year and still get one of the top receivers. I know Eagles fans were upset about it. We traded away from Jamar Chase. That's what I saw on Twitter. And which you can follow me at it's me Jace _. So I saw on Twitter, and I'm just like, let's just wait a minute, because if we get a bunch of quarterbacks to go in the top 6, you might get a receiver. And you did, because Devontae Smith is the selection here. Give Jalen Hurts a receiver, and give him a very explosive and dynamic receiver to throw into the NFC East. You look at the NFC East, and you're just like Kenny Golladay, Terry McLaurin, Cooper Lamb, Gallup, Curtis Samuel, and then you throw in Devontae Smith, and it's a pretty good division full of receivers. So now pick 13, Atlanta's on the clock here. As I said earlier, Matt Ryan is not the problem in Atlanta to me. I never said Matt Ryan sucked in mock number 1. I said his cap hit was massive, and they restructured his deal to clear more cap room. They also restructured Deion Jones I believe yesterday as well. So they're committed for 2021. Their defense is hot garbage. It's a bad defense. It's atrocious. You drafted AJ Terrell last year. You missed on Takk McKinley, who we'll talk about later. And I think just at this point, like, you have to get another corner. Sheffield's not really not that good of a corner. So we'll go ahead and take Alabama corner Patrick Surtain II to go to Atlanta to play opposite AJ Terrell and hopefully, be a pretty good defense. So pick 14, I talked about how the Minnesota Vikings are moving on from Riley Reiff in 2022, and they turn around and did it in 2021. So makes me, when things like that happen, it's almost like, I'm kind of new to this thing. I don't have a lot of views or a lot of subscribers, but I feel like I know what I'm talking about, because I was, pretty confident they were going to move on from Riley Reiff. And they ended up doing it. So as I said before, Darrisaw has zero versatility. He is the best offensive tackle on the board here. And no, zero versatility is actually okay. He's a starting left tackle for the next decade. His motor never stops. The hand movement, he's amazing. He's going to add NFL weight and be a very good left tackle. So I'm going to go Christian Darrisaw here. And in this scenario here, the Cowboys have to be giddy at this point, right? Because the Cowboys wanted to make sure that they didn't move down past Arizona, because Arizona needs a corner, like, badly. And Dallas is sitting at pick 15, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on the board. The edge rushers are there, and so is J.C. Horn. The Cowboys committed to Jalen Smith, and they signed Keanu Neal to play the role that I was going to assign to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, because I wanted to cut Jalen Smith just because I think, you could have saved $7 million and been a better team. But whatever. J.C. Horn is the guy here. Back in December, like I said before, I tweeted how I thought J.C. was the best corner in the draft. He's that good. He showed up at his pro day and ran 4.39. I don't think that gets him to top 10 because I don't think a corner goes top 10, but that gets him to top 15. Absolutely. One of the things that I found really unfortunate about the J.C. Horn situation, though, was that, like, J.C. Horn was clearly the best corner. Clearly. And, because I've always said, okay, Surtain is really struggling against these big receivers on these over routes and drag routes and deep overs because he doesn't break on the ball. And J.C. Horn is physical, and so I'd always felt like J.C. Horn was the best corner. And it's still up for debate now, I guess, but I guess it's a closer debate. So J.C. Horn is going to be the pick here for the Dallas Cowboys to play opposite Trayvon Diggs. Get the pick 16. Arizona's on the clock here. Arizona could use a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker, on the offensive line. But I just think Arizona has a need, and I really hate taking players for need, but I think Greg Newsome is a first-round corner. Is he a top 16? Maybe not, but this would probably be Caleb Farley if not for the back injury, because I have a few philosophies when it comes to injury. The first being, I hate shoulders and rotator cuff injuries on quarterbacks, and I hate back injuries on skill positions that involve running and flipping the hips and backpedaling and tackling and things like that. So they did re-sign Robert Alford to play corner in 2021, and he's missed 2 full seasons. So I wouldn't really put my faith in him. But I'm going to go ahead and select Greg Newsome here. I just think that back injury with Caleb Farley is a little scary, and we're going to talk about that in a few picks. So here at pick 16, we're going to go ahead and select Greg Newsome, the defensive back out of Northwestern. So 17, the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock. And I'm going to go ahead and just run to the podium here and turn my pick in for Tevin Jenkins. He jumped from 25 to 17 in my mock because the Raiders gutted their offensive line. Why? I'm not sure. Mike Mayock, John Gruden, and Mark Davis in that bowl haircut are crazy. They are the perfect match for each other. But you have to get better at right tackle. 2018 first rounder Colton Miller was an okay starter this year at left tackle, or last year at left tackle. Solidify the right tackle with a nasty right tackle who never quits. And when I say never quits, just ask Joseph Ossai, right? The Joseph Ossai out of Texas, right? I'm going to pull up Joseph Ossai here on my screen right here. He's the top 50 player out of Texas. Joseph Ossai is 6'3", 245, right? He's like a stand-up linebacker, edge rusher. I tell you, Tevin Jenkins drove Joseph Osai to the bus like this was the blind side. That's what he did to him. And Osai had a good game, against Oklahoma State. But yeah, that play where he drove him to the bus, it was just hilarious. So I went ahead and turned this pick in here, Tevin Jenkins to the Las Vegas Raiders to protect Derek Carr. So as we move on to pick 18, the Miami Dolphins are going to go ahead and select Azeez Ojulari, the defensive end edge rusher out of Georgia. My first corner went at 13, and my first edge rusher is going at 18. That lets you know how the draft is as far as defensive prospects. It's not a defensive first round in my opinion. Like I said, Azeez is still a bit raw. He only has a few pass rush moves. That's not a bad thing in college, but in the pros, you have to develop more moves. Miami is not committed to Emmanuel Ogbah after 2021, so go ahead and just get his replacement cheap for 5 years. I mean, that makes the most sense in my opinion. So, pick number 19 is Sam Cosmi, the offensive tackle out of Texas. He's going to go to the Washington football team. Just to go off on a tangent for a little bit. I know the Washington football team is still looking for a name, but like I'm at the point now where I just call them the Washington football team. It's like Steve Harvey said, it took y'all this long to come up with something not racist, but but I like the name Washington football team. I just think they should keep it. Like you don't have to become some random name like the Washington, Capitalists or anything like that. Like since you're in DC, you don't have to be that, but just be the football team. It sticks. I like it. But the NFC East is the laughingstock of the NFL, but I think they're about to be on fire. As I mentioned with the receiving core, Giants have good pieces. The defense is good. Like I said, Micah Parsons there. Dallas has an offense with 3 1,000-yard receivers, bunch of points. Ezekiel Elliott, offensive line's getting healthy. Philly needs more work just because of their aging vets and their cap and their uncertainty at quarterback. But the football team needs to solidify their left tackle position with Sam Cosmi. Cosmi has position flex, which is a very good thing. 30-plus games at offensive tackle, 14 at right, 21 at left. He can be a better pass blocker, but I think he is a good prospect to get at 18 and that you can mold into a very good and a franchise left tackle. So we get to pick 20 here. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. In my last mock, I had the Bears jumping up to select Mac Jones. That is not happening. But the Bears made some interesting moves, right? The Bears threw a lot of capital at Seattle, and Seattle said, no, you can't have Russell Wilson, which I somewhat agree with, as we talked about with the 1-2 stepping out of Seattle for Russell Wilson. A lot of the issues that Seattle had towards the back half of the season were on Russell Wilson. He has to get better, period. Now, earlier in the season, the offensive line was garbage. They got to get better. Play calling had to get better. That's why they fired their offensive coordinator, right? So let's see what Seattle looks like this year. And if Russell Wilson's getting sacked 50 times again, then we might have to have another discussion. But the Bears did end up signing Andy Dalton to be their quarterback, and the Bears' social media is pretty confident. Andy said that they told him he was going to be the starter. We saw Andy Dalton play in Dallas and with all those weapons, and he looked like a backup quarterback in my opinion. But so the Bears, I want to say that was the last thing the Bears did, but then the Bears suddenly cut Kendall Fuller. They just they got rid of him for did I say Kendall? I meant Kyle. They cut Kyle Fuller. I was thinking about the other Fuller. So they cut Kyle Fuller for whatever reason. I guess because his cap hit was whatever was pretty high. I think if you restructure that, make that into a signing bonus for the year, that provides you more cap room and you get to keep your guy. But I just think that he doesn't want to be there. And when the rumors begin swirling about him leaving, I was like, he is going to Denver, and that's where he ended up. Which is why I had the Broncos jumping up instead of sitting at 9 to take a corner because they got Fuller. So the pick here though is going to be Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley for a long time was the most athletic defensive back in the class. Well, that was until PS2 and JC showed out at their pro days. Farley was in the news this past week because of back surgery, and that wasn't his first injury. He already has some medical history as he tore his ACL in 2017, back spasm in 2019, which cost him the last 2 games of his season. He sat out 2020 due to COVID after a very good 2019, and then he got a microdiscectomy on his back, and I didn't know what that was, so I went to spine-health.com, and they said, quote, "The procedure is done for a herniated disc. It relieves pressure on a spinal nerve root." Spine. Nerves. This is a gamble. But my issue with Caleb Farley is, Caleb Farley was going to be a gamble anyway because he sat out and you're betting on athleticism. But my issue with Caleb Farley is, if you begin having back spasms in 2019, why didn't you just get surgery in 2020 when you chose to sit out the entire season? Why would you wait to get surgery in March and the draft's in April? I don't see the logic in that. You know, he can sit for 4 months or whatever it's going to take to get his back together, 4 or 5 months, and whatever. The Bears it don't matter for the Bears. The Bears ain't winning nothing no time soon. Not with Andy Dalton at quarterback anyway, but get your replacement for Fuller. So pick 21, the Indianapolis Colts are on the clock here. They do need an offensive tackle here. So as we check and we see what's going on with offensive tackle here, Liam Eichenberg is on the board. Mayfield, the North Dakota State offensive tackles there. Like I said, Mayfield out of Michigan. Leatherwood's there. Brady Christensen, who had a very good pro day. He's there as well, along with James Hudson out of Cincinnati. All these guys are there. But I think Indianapolis has a glaring need at corner. And the top corner, on not just on this predictive board, but on my board, is Eric Stokes. Because Eric Stokes ran a 4.25 40. And when you add that onto the fact that he has 22 pass breakups in 31 games with 4 interceptions, he is a lock for the first round, in my opinion. He thrives in man in zone. When I watch him, he reminds me of like Marcus Peters. But the difference is Peters in college caught interceptions, like a lot of them. But Stokes has more passes defended than Peters. So his ball skills are still improving. And I think that this is the perfect situation for him to be in. Joining Xavier Rhodes, on the other side, and then Kenny Moore in the slot. That's a good cornerback room for the Colts. So, I think I would feel pretty confident with Eric Stokes going 21 to the Indianapolis Colts. So as we get to pick 22 here, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock here. Aaron Robinson is listed here, the cornerback out of Central Florida. Played a lot of slot at Central Florida. I think he's a great fit for the Titans team that's pretty close to making that next step. The Titans went out and signed Kevin Johnson and Janoris Jenkins after losing Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson. You add Aaron Robinson to that room, and you get some speed, some flexibility, some longevity, and some youth. And I think that helps the team out in the long run. I think Aaron Robinson is a very talented defensive back, and I think a coach like Vrabel can definitely pull out some greatness out of Aaron Robinson here. So Aaron Robinson is going to go here. I do see that Bossman Fat is here, my favorite draft name, but we'll talk about Bossman Fat in a little bit. So, pick 23, the New York Jets are on the clock, and it says their team needs are corner and edge, so we could take Bossman Fat here. Bossman Fat is Kelvin Joseph, by the way. I'm just calling him by his rap name. But I'm not gonna take Bossman Fat here. We're actually gonna take a running back, and people believe running backs are a dime a dozen. I just think the Jets will dip their toes into the position on night 1 of the draft. Robert Saleh is coming from San Fran, who did nothing but run the ball to keep the defense fresh. The Jets will pair up Najee Harris with their new quarterback in Zach Wilson and have 2 key positions cheap for 5 years. I'm not saying they're going to go 13-3 like Dak and Zeke, but I think that's something that you want. 2 very young prospects around the same age who can help be the face of your franchise. It's genius. And me personally, you'll have people that say, well, I don't think safety should go in the first round. I don't think running back should go in the first round. I believe every position can go in the first round besides kicker, punter, and long snapper. That's it. I believe every position on the defense can go in the first round. Every position on the offense can go in the first round if you're that good of a player. Najee Harris is. Najee Harris goes to the Jets here. The Jets get him for cheap for 5 years. I mean, even if the Jets wanted to say, well, we don't want him after this. Okay, that's fine. But You had him cheap for 5 years. That's great. Najee was born, in 98, which would, I can't really do math, but to make him what, 20, 22, 23, somewhere around there. I think having a guy like that will definitely help, your team, and specifically your quarterback, your rookie quarterback, because I think I don't want to say the transition is easier for running backs, but I think if there's a hole, you hit the hole. Like, I think you have to make it a little bit easier on your quarterback. So, and I did the math in my head. He's 23 years old, by the way. So, I did it. I know English and journalism and writing and talking. That's what I know, not math. So, Najee Harris goes 23rd to the Jets. 24th, the Pittsburgh Steelers are here. And I mentioned Boss Man Fat. I just think that Mike Tomlin is going to be a coach who's going to be like, look, I don't have the energy. I'm getting old. I don't have the energy to deal with Kelvin Joseph and his off the field stuff. So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go for the guy that I know has a pedigree, family. His dad played in the league. He really fits the mold of the Steelers, corners who hover around that 5'10", 5'11". And we're going to take Asante Samuel Jr. To play for the Steelers here. The Steelers let Mike Hilton and Steven Nelson go. Both guys had 16 passes and 5 picks combined, and that's just walking out the door. Like, you have to replace that. And I think you go ahead and just get a guy like Asante Samuel Jr. and you replace that production. So pick number 25 here, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock here. And Liam Eichenberg is sitting right here, and the Jags need an offensive lineman. But you know what else the Jaguars need to pair, with a guy like CJ Henderson? They need a free safety. So as I said about running back, any position is worthy of a first-round pick. Trevon Merrick comes from a really good TCU secondary where he stands out on film. Some draft people will tell you that Ardarius Washington, his 5'8" teammate, is better or more talented. And I may agree in watching some games, but I don't think the Jags are taking a 5'8" safety. Merrick becomes, the first safety off the board here. He was a top safety in 2019. He was voted first team All Big 12. In 2020, he was an AP second team All-American, Jim Thorpe Award winner, first team All-Conference. And over the last 2 seasons, he has 6 interceptions and 20 pass breakups in 22 games. Now, think about what I just said. 6 interceptions and 20 pass breakups in 22 games. Compare that to a cornerback we talked about who went 21st, which was Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes had, Merrick had more interceptions and 2 less PBUs in 9 less games than Eric Stokes. That's a good safety. That he's around the ball. He makes plays on the ball, and that is what you want from a free safety. You want somebody who can play center field, and go sideline to sideline. That's what you want. That's all you ask, and make plays on the ball. And having more interceptions and 2 less pass breakups, in 9 less games versus a cornerback. Come on, that's a first round safety, and it's not even close. Pick 26 though. We're gonna have Kwity Paye here to the Cleveland Browns. I mentioned that Kwity Paye is a Toyota. He's just reliable. He's good. He's not anything special. He's just good. I stand by that. The Browns have a hole opposite Myles Garrett, and I know they put Takk McKinley in that hole via free agency. But are you really wanting to bank your future on Takk McKinley? I think people, see Takk McKinley and they say, oh, well, he failed a physical. No. We got to look a little deeper into Takk McKinley, because Takk McKinley is interesting, right? So Takk McKinley was cut by the team that drafted him, had shoulder surgery, had a groin injury, and then after shoulder surgery had an AC joint sprain in the same shoulder, and then fell 2 physicals, all by the time he was 25. Absolutely not. Can't bank on that. Not if you're Kevin Stefanski, because you got a really good team who made the playoffs, and you want to get another pass rusher, and it ain't Takk McKinley. I'd be shocked if Takk McKinley made the team come training camp. I mean, I just don't trust him. So pick 27 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. I know I ranted about Eric DeCosta and his inability to get a receiver, but they had a chance to lock up Juju, and Juju elected to stay with Pittsburgh. The big name wide receivers seem to avoid Baltimore for whatever reason. And when you do a little digging, you understand why. Like, Baltimore was last in pass attempts and passing yards in 2020. They were 13th in passing touchdowns. Also the year prior, they were last in pass attempts. 27th in pass yards. If you're a free agent wide receiver, why would you want to go here? 27th in pass yards. Last in pass yards over the last 2 years. It's not good. I did give them Terrace Marshall last time to play wide receiver, but I want to give them Gregory Rousseau because anybody who watches film knows why Rousseau is at 27, but they also know why he's in the first round because he has elite traits, he has elite athleticism, but rushing over the center ain't special to me. I'm sorry, it's not. But losing Matt Judon, you have to reload your defense and your pass rush. I think Wink Martindale can work with Rousseau and mold him into whatever he wants him to be. So pick 28. Well, first let's go ahead and give them Rousseau. Pick 28. The Saints are on the clock here, and the Saints are trying to decide: do we want to go edge rusher? Do we kind of want to take a chance on Boss Man Fat out of Kentucky and kind of deal with that off the field stuff? Do we want to go, Bateman? Do we want to go Terrace Marshall? Get to give him LSU. But I think their phone's going to ring because there's going to be a team up in the Northeast in Buffalo, New York, that's going to call the Saints. And they're going to say, hey, we have a guy that we want to go and get. How about we send you pick 30 and pick 93, and you send us pick 28 and 218. So we'll see. So Buffalo wants to go up 30, go up from 30 to 28 and throw in their third, while the Saints give them a 1. They swap ones, and the Saints give up a 6. So we'll try this, and we'll see. This is the most realistic thing we can do on the trade chart here. I kind of got to maneuver around, right? Because the trade chart doesn't want to work with me. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and give them we'll just do this trade here for the 3. So we'll go 30-93 for pick 28. So it says congratulations, the the New Orleans Saints have selected, have accepted your offer. So as we get to pick 28 here, the Bills are coming up for Christian Barmore. In 2020, Barmore had 8 sacks at D tackle. He showed up in the college football playoff. He's a good defensive tackle, but my knock on Christian Barmore is that he misses a lot of tackles. You look at his 2020 stats and you say, well, Jace, he had 9.5 tackles for loss. But then you dig a little deeper, and 4 of those came in 2 games. So for the remainder of the season, he only had 5.5 tackles for loss at defensive tackle. You watch his tape against Mississippi State, Kentucky, Florida, and Tennessee, and he only has half a tackle for loss in those games combined. That's alarming. That is not consistent defensive tackle play against the run. And where he thrives is against the pass. 65 quarterback pressures over the last 2 seasons at defensive tackle is impressive. That gets him in the first round. I'm sorry, Ed Oliver, it ain't worked out yet. Okay, I'm sorry. We need to get someone else in, see if this guy can outwork you, if you can outwork him. I don't care, but we need another defensive tackle in Buffalo. Barmore has to get better against the run. I think Eric Washington and Sean McDermott can definitely, help him out with playing against the run here. So, pick 29, the Green Bay Packers are on the clock here. For whatever reason, the Packers re-signed Kevin King. I can't tell you why, but whatever. They did that, and then you add on the fact that Farley had the surgery. That moved Aaron Robinson up my board because I had Aaron Robinson going to the Packers. But when you add up all the situations that happened over the last, few weeks or so, I have to move the Packers away from a corner at this point. I just don't feel like taking Boss Man Fat here at 29. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has the energy to deal with Boss Man Fat. So the Packers will finally add, to Aaron Rodgers, artillery, give him some more weapons. So they're a really good football team, but I think they've really hurt Aaron Rodgers over the years. Now the Packers do have an out for Aaron Rodgers after the 2021 season, where it'd only be 17 million in dead cap to release Rodgers. I think if you're not adding pieces to get you over the NFC title hump, then let Aaron Rodgers go and try to win somewhere else. So if you believe in Aaron Rodgers and you think Aaron Rodgers can get you over the hump, I think you need to go ahead and you need to add, a guy like Terrace Marshall to the Green Bay Packers. I just think that Marshall will definitely help the Packers out and help Aaron Rodgers out. It's not that I hate that the Packers have failed Aaron Rodgers. It's not that I hate that for whatever reason, but I just didn't like the narrative that, Aaron Rodgers had Mike McCarthy all these years, and Mike McCarthy was such a bad coach, and Mike McCarthy had more division titles, more NFC title appearances, and more playoff wins than Sean Payton when he got fired in 2018, and they both got hired in 2006. So this narrative that Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers failed is crazy. Drew Brees played 20 years or whatever, and only won one Super Bowl, and he's a success story. But the narrative that, Aaron Rodgers wasn't as great because he only won one ring just doesn't add up to me. So the reason Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers didn't work was because the Packers didn't spend no damn money in free agency. And the moment he left, they started spending money. But then all of a sudden, they forgot that they had money to spend. So now they're not providing Aaron Rodgers with adequate weapons outside of Aaron Jones, who they actually re-signed, thank God, and Devontae Adams. And now, the tight ends are coming on or whatever, but I think you got to give Aaron Rodgers another receiver. You have to. I think if you give him another receiver, I'm not saying they get to the Super Bowl, but I think they have, I think the NFC Championship looks a little different if they have more weapons. So, pick 30, the New Orleans Saints are on the clock here. And again, the Saints are, they're looking, they're thinking, corner's still there. Bossman Fat's still there. Ifeatu Melifonwu, who's a very tall corner. Elijah Molden, Tyson Campbell, Shaun Wade. I believe Shaun Wade is a safety. Shaun Wade, I don't think he's a good corner at all. You want to wait around, you can get, Keith Taylor, Israel Mukwamu, who had a whole bunch of picks in South Carolina, played opposite J.C. Horn. You could get one of those guys. But I don't think the New Orleans Saints are going to pick in the first round. I think the New Orleans Saints are going to move this pick, right? Because the New Orleans Saints, they're a team that has some cap issues, and they have to rebuild their roster, right? So I think a team like Miami wants to come up, right? So say Miami wants to come up with the New Orleans Saints, right? So Miami will throw in 36 and 81, a 2 and a 3 to come up to 1. Balances out on the trade chart. Now, we'll send this offer over to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints will go ahead and accept the offer. The Miami Dolphins are coming up to select Travis Etienne, the running back out of Clemson. The Dolphins are back again, and like I said, they're in because they want a running back chief for 5 years. The number one job of a head coach, right, is to put players and the team in the best position to be successful. You want Tua to be successful? Give him Kyle Pitts and Travis Etienne. Along with Gesicki and Parker, that's putting your quarterback in a position to be successful. Add a dynamic back like Etienne, who in 2018 and 2019 rushed for over 1,600 yards in each season, played 12 games in 2021 and still almost had 1,000 yards. Add that to your team. That's genius, right? So as we sit here, the Chiefs are on the clock, and if you're a Saints fan, I don't want you to be disappointed. The Saints are not going to trade in with the Chiefs, but I want to show Saints fans something, right? So coming into the draft, your team had 28, 60, 98, 105, 133, 218, 229, and 255, right? So now what you actually have is you have 36, 60, 81, 93, 98, 105, 133, 218, 229, and 255. So that's what you have as of right now, right? So like I said, you came in with 28, 60, 98, 105, 133, 218, 229, and 255, right? So you get to leave the draft with 36, 60, 81, 93, 98, 105. That's 5 picks in the top 100 of the NFL draft. 6 in the top 105. So you come away with 2 2s and 4 3s. If you're a Saints fan, you got to love that because you got a lot of holes to fill. And I think, getting that many picks will definitely help out a coach like Sean Payton, and the Saints, who are very, pretty decent at drafting. So as we get to the tail end of the mock draft here, we're going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs here. The Chiefs were banged up in the Super Bowl on the offensive line, and it showed. So instead of adding to that offensive line, they woke up March 11th and chose violence, and they just cut Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. But then they went out and signed Mike Rimmers to a 1-year deal for $3 million. And then Joe Thuney signed a 5-year deal. And then, so they've been adding pieces to the team. They are definitely retooling the offensive line. But Mike Rimmers ain't the answer. Now, I have friends who are Panthers, Vikings, and Giants fans, and they all say the same thing about Mike Rimmers. It ain't it. When it matters most, he ain't going to show it. You can look at his PFF grade and see that is pretty decent. But when it matters, Mike Rimmers ain't showing up. He was pretty decent in New York, but as far as like Minnesota and Carolina, oh my goodness, he was awful. He was awful. So a lot of people have Eichenberg in the second round, early second, but I think the Chiefs just have to get protection from Mahomes, get the best available guy. He's a solid tackle prospect with a strong college pedigree. He's a very good choice. And he can be anything like those Notre Dame offensive linemen, like Quentin Nelson and Zach Martin. Then you might be, cooking with gas. You might be having something special going on in Kansas City with the retooled offensive line. So, pick 32. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to close out the mock draft here. They're going to go ahead and select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. So I'm going to scroll down here. They're going to select JOK. And the Bucs are pretty damn serious about running it back. They retained all their pieces minus Gronk, and Gronk says he'll be back. And just my luck, Gronk is going to re-sign as soon as the mock releases or something. JOK is an ideal fit for Tampa because of Levante David's age. David will be 33 when his deal's up, and I believe JOK can slide right in. Also, I'm not going to pretend that Devin White is this amazing coverage linebacker. He had a grade of 38, according to PFF, against the run as well. He's a really good blitzer. I'll give you that, but hell, he had 9 sacks in 2020, but he's not someone that would deter me from drafting another linebacker. Not someone like JOK who he can drop back and play safety if you want him to. So that's going to end my mock draft here. We're going to run it from the top here at 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4. Cincinnati taking Penei Sewell, Carolina trading up to get Mac Jones, Chase to the Lions, Pitts to the Dolphins to help out Tua. Chargers move up to take Rashawn Slater. The Patriots move up to take Jalen Waddle. Micah Parsons goes to New York. The Eagles, even though they traded down, still get their guy in Devontae Smith. Atlanta moved down as well to select Patrick Surtain II to play opposite A.J. Terrell. Minnesota takes Christian Darrisaw. J.C. Horn goes to Dallas. Greg Newsome jumps up to 16 to go to Arizona because the Cardinals need a corner, but they're not. I'm pretty sure they're not really confident in Caleb Farley's back. The Raiders take Tevin Jenkins to tackle. Ojulari, the defensive end edge rusher, goes to Miami. Washington takes Sam Cosmi, the offensive tackle out of Texas. Caleb Farley still goes top 20 with the back injury. Eric Stokes runs himself to pick number 21. Aaron Robinson, pick 22 out of Central Florida, the cornerback. The other team in New York, the Jets, select Najee Harris out of Alabama. Asante Samuel Jr. goes 24th to Pittsburgh. Trevon Merritt goes 25th to Jacksonville, and all those pass breakups and interceptions he had. Cleveland, they don't have faith in Takk McKinley. Hell, I don't think Takk makes the team, as I said before. Kwity Paye is the pick at 26 to Cleveland. Rousseau is the pick to 27 at Baltimore. 28, Buffalo moves up with the Saints to take Barmore out of the defensive tackle out of Alabama. The Packers move up to take Terrace Marshall. The Dolphins take Travis Etienne. They jump back in with New Orleans to take Etienne. Chiefs take Eichenberg, and the Buccaneers take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and that's going to complete Mock Draft 2.0. Tell me, guys, what you think. Watch the video, share it, hit that subscribe button. watch the channel grow and watch the channel flourish. So I appreciate the support, all the views on the last mock draft as well, as far as and the views on the Russell Wilson videos that I did as well. So we'll be back real soon with mock draft 3.0.